Hello, and welcome to Module 2 of the National Aging and Disability Transportation Center Accessible Pedestrian Pathways mini-course. My name is Rachel Byerly, and I'm Communications Director for NADTC. This week, course participants will conduct a walkability audit or assessment using the checklist from the Neighborhood Wayfinding Guide. In addition, when we look at local projects later in the course, we'll have a guest presenter on the application of inclusive walkability audits. This particular presentation in Module 2 focuses on the walkability movement in the United States over the past 20 to 30 years. We'll look at federal funds for pedestrian projects, the Transportation Alternatives Program, the rail trail movement, smart growth, safe routes to schools, technical assistance, advocacy, and the rise of walking and health programs. Regarding federal funding for pedestrian projects can be funded under highway, transit, and safety programs. A list of all the programs is available on the Federal Highway Administration Environment, Bicycle, and Pedestrian web pages. The link is included in slide 3. As it quotes on the FHWA website, bicycle transportation facilities and pedestrian walkways are eligible under all major federal aid and federal lands highway programs. Specific program requirements must be met, and eligibility must be determined on a case-by-case basis. The number of funding programs is extensive, so this week I'll focus specifically on the Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program under the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program. If we go back to the 1990s, we'll note that the precursor of the current Transportation Alternatives Program is the Transportation Enhancements Program. In 1991, under the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act, known as ICE-T, dedicated funding was established for pedestrian and bicycle projects beyond traditional highway-oriented projects. This funding was expanded under the Transportation Equity Act of the 21st century, or as we know it, T21. In the 2000s, the Safe, Accountable, Flexible, Efficient Transportation Equity Act, SAFE-T-LEW, funding continued under the Transportation Alternatives Program as a 10% set-aside. Under the Moving Ahead for Progress, or MAP 21, and into Fixing America's Surface Transportation, or FAST Act, the program was converted to the Transportation Alternatives Program and was melded with the Recreational Trails Funding Program and also Safe Routes to Schools funding. The Transportation Alternatives Program is for construction, planning, and design of on-road or off-road trail facilities for pedestrians, bicycles, and other non-motorized transportation. Specific projects can include sidewalks, signals, traffic calming, lighting, and other safety features, plus Americans with Disabilities Act compliance. Complete Transportation Alternatives Program guidance is available on the Federal Highway Administration website. Additional transportation alternatives programs include the Recreational Trails Program, the Safe Route to School Program, and planning, design, and constructing boulevards. Now that we know what type of programs or projects are eligible for TAP funding, the next question is who is eligible to receive transportation alternatives funding. Eligible entities include local government, for example, that could be a city, town, county, or county equivalent, regional transportation authorities, transit agencies that are eligible for funds from the Federal Transit Administration, or natural resource or public land agencies. Other eligible entities include schools, school districts and education institutions, tribal governments, nonprofit agencies responsible for transportation programs, local or regional entities responsible for trail oversight are also eligible entities. State departments of transportation themselves and MPOs or Metropolitan Planning Organization entities are not eligible even though they have a role in funding distribution. Each state has a bicycle and pedestrian coordinator for administration and technical assistance. Project selection under the Transportation Alternatives Program is competitive through state or Metropolitan Planning Organization depending on population size, and the details of those population sizes are available on slide 11. Projects must be included in the statewide transportation improvement program, the MPO Transportation Improvement Program, and must coordinate with the long-range statewide transportation plan. Essentially, states select transportation alternatives projects through competitive process for non-urban areas and areas with populations between 5,001 and 200,000. MPOs select projects for funds sub-allocated in urbanized areas over 200,000 population. And as we mentioned, those projects that are selected must be included in the statewide or the metropolitan plans. So now that we've had that bit of background on funding, let's take a look at the programs that have come out of the walkability movement. Some of these have been grassroots, others have been federally supported. So if you will, let's take a walk through time to look at several major steps in the national walkability movement. We'll take a look at rail to trail movement, smart growth, complete streets, safe routes to schools, technical assistance centers, community walking programs, and advocacy and promotion of walkability. Starting off with the rail trail movement, this actually predates the national walkability movement, with railbed use for walking and recreation beginning in the 1960s. In 1965, the Elroy Sparta Trail opened in Wisconsin, the first of its kind in the country. In 1980, the Staggers Act essentially deregulated the U.S. railroad industry, leading to railroads being able to abandon unprofitable segments of rail line. In the early 1980s, this meant that American railroads abandoned 4,000 to 8,000 miles of rail line. In 1986, the Rails to Trails Conservancy was established and has been involved in the further establishment of 21,000 miles of trail in the U.S. In the mid-1990s and 2000, we saw the rise of smart growth. Smart growth principles took root during this time period and are still applied today in response to the effects of urban sprawl. Smart growth is person-oriented, providing choice of transportation options and walkable communities that promote health and well-being. In 1996, the Environmental Protection Agency, nonprofits, and government agencies formed the Smart Growth Network, which also paralleled growing academic research on the financial and social cost of sprawl. In 2000, just to signify how important this was, gubernatorial action on smart growth took place in over 30 states just in 2000 alone. Complete streets stem from and are considered part of the smart growth movement. Complete streets are those with all users in mind, and roadways are designed so that right-of-way can be used by all modes. Complete streets policies can be applied in all areas, even rural areas where concepts include off-road paved multi-use trails, wide shoulders on roadways, and bridges. Main street improvements are another example. In urban areas, slower speeds, traffic calming, and driver awareness are other aspects of the complete streets movement that support access and safe pedestrian. Safe routes to schools are federally funded, and this program addresses the decline in active commutes to school by students, as well as increased health and obesity risk among the student population. Safe routes projects under the Transportation Alternatives Program include both infrastructure projects and non-infrastructure programs and campaigns. Example infrastructure projects include sidewalks, pedestrian crossings, and speed reduction. The early 2000s were also a time that saw the rise of health and socially inclusive walking programs, in particular programs focused on the health of older adults. In 2013, the first National Walking Summit was held, hosted by Kaiser Permanente and America Walks. They were the drivers behind this initiative, and one of the key features was the importance of a 30-minute walk that promotes and helps spread the concept that even basic walking makes a difference in our daily lives. Another piece of the walkability puzzle is pedestrian advocacy and promotion. Numerous nonprofits promote the benefits of walking, professional networking, and advocating for pedestrian-friendly policies and funding. Example organizations include American Trails, America Walks, Everybody Walk, Girl Trek, National Center for Bicycling and Walking, which is part of the Project for Public Spaces, the National Complete Streets Coalition, and Walk to Connect Co-op, a community walking program organization. Technical assistance on pedestrian issues include U.S. Department of Transportation agencies, the Federal Highway Administration, and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The Pedestrian Bicycle Information Center, a federally supported training, technical assistance, and research center. the National Center for Safe Routes to Schools, the National Trails Training Partnership, and the University Transportation Centers that have conducted research on pedestrian issues. You'll be part of the national walking movement this week when you conduct a walkability assessment. The Information Resources folder on the Learning Management System includes examples of checklists for adults, teenagers, and youth. Please use the Neighborhood Wayfinding checklist filed under the homework assignment for your wayfinding assessment this week. At the end of this course, you'll be asked to pick from 4 options for your final assignment: preparing a policy recommendation, drafting an implementation plan to start an advisory group, planning a community walkability audit, and identifying a pedestrian project. Have you already thought about your assignment, or do you think that results of your walkability assessment will affect your choice? What was the most eye-opening aspect of your assessment? Feel free to share your thoughts in the course forum. Some of the resources used in this presentation include the Transportation Enhancements Alternatives Primer. This is Smart Growth, which is a booklet available on the EPA website, the Environmental Protection Agency website, the Big Tent of Growth Management research paper, and the Federal Highway Administration's Transportation Alternatives Program web pages. Links to all of these resources are available on slide 22. This concludes our presentation on the walkability movement in the U.S. over the past 30 years. If you have any questions about Module 2, the walkability assessment, or any of the materials on the learning management system, as always, you can contact me, Rachel Byerly, at rbyerly@easterseals.com, or NADTC consultant Christy McLaughlin at mclaughlinandmclaughlin@gmail.com. If you have questions, please let us know. We look forward to having your continued participation in the course. Thank you and have a good day.